Pranams to everybody. Hari Bol. So another day, evening of Damodarastakam, and we're into the second verse. Today is the 22nd Tuesday, October 2024. So we'll sing our Damodarastakam Kirtan, and then today the Parikrama went to Nidhuvan and Radharaman and Gokulananda and Gopinath. These four places, very significant temples, ancient temples, the oldest temples, Nidhuvan and this area, very, very beautiful, beautiful Parikrama. So that's where the Parikrama went today. So we'll say something about it. Okay, we'll have our kirtan. Namamishwaram Satchidanandalupam Lasat Kundalam Gokunde Brajamalam Yashodam Yoloka Laptamalam Param Rasta Rudam Tamuhurnetra Yubram Rujantam Karam Bhoja Yubmena Satankanetram Mohosvasakam Pakriyekankamta Ananda Kunde Swagosham Nimajjantam Akhyapayantam Tadeshitagneshu Bhaktirjitadvam Punah Prematastam Shatabraktivante Varam Deva Moksham Mokshavadhimva Natanyam Vineham Varishanabhiya Idam Deva Purnatha Gopalavaram Sadadvimanasya Vishastam Mojam Avyakta Nilai Vritam Kuntalai Siddha Rakshasagopya Mohos Kumvitam Indra Raktadharam Me Manasya Vishramala Lakshadave Namo Deva Damodarananta Vishnu Prasida Prabodhuka Jalavimadam Kripadristi Vrisyati Dinam Bhatanu Brahmanisha Manamadya Ejashadrishya Kuberamajobhara Mutyailayamra Tvayam Muchutam Bhakti Ajam Prudam Cham Tata Prema Bhaktim Svakam Me Prayacha Namo Kshira Mesti Damodareha Namaste Damne Spurati Damne Vadiyo Vishwasya Damne Namo Radhikaya
Jai Shishi Guru Garanga Ganhavika Giridhare. Radha Damodar Ju Ki Jai. Radha Govinda Ju Ki Jai. Jai Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai. Sachinandana Gaura Hari Ki Jai. Jai Nityalila Pravishta Om. Asto Tarasara Shishimad. Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Nityalila Pravishta Om. Asto Tarasara Shishimad. Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om. Asto Tarasdara Shishimad. Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Jagat Guru Nitya Lila Pravishta Om. Asto Tarasdara Shishimad. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Paramahamsa Mahabhagavat Srila Gaura Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Saptam Goswami Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Srila Baladevi Dibhushan Gaudi Vedanta Acharya Ki Jai. Jai Srila Vishnath Chakravarti Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Narottam Srinivas Shyamananda Prabhu Traya Ki Jai. Jai Srila Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami Ki Jai. Jai Shri Rup Sanatan Shri Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bhatta Dasa Raghunath Sad Goswami Prabhu's Ki Jai. Rupa Nuga Guru Varga Ki Jai. Jai Swarab Damodar Rai Ramananda Gauda Parsada Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Sikha Hosi Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Shri Gauda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Antadvip Mayapur Simantadvip Gautrandvip Madhyadvip Koladvip Ritudvip Janadvip Modundvip Rudradvip Apaka Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Badravan Bandiravan Bailvan Lohavan, Mahavan, Madhuvan, Talvan, Kamudvan, Bahulavan, Vrindavan, Kadiyavan, Kamyavan, Brajamandal Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopi Go Govardhan Dwarasabhatamatmika Shri Brajamandal Ki Jai. Shri Radha Kun Shama Kun Ganga Jamuna Devi Bhakti Devi Tulsi Devi Maharani Ki Jai. Shrimati Brinda Devi Maharani Ki Jai. Shrimati Yogamaya Purnamasi Devi Maharani Ki Jai. Shri Gopishwa Mahadev Ki Jai. Ganga Jamuna Devi Maharani Ki Jai. Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Sudarshan Chakra Ki Jai. Ketra Mandal Ki Jai. Sarva Vigna Vanasa Karishina Shingde Bhagavan Ki Jai. Bhakta Prabha Shri Prahlad Maharaj Ki Jai. Charidam Ki Jai. Chari Sampradaya Ki Jai. Chari Achari Ki Jai. Akara Mataraj Shri Chaitanya Mat Ki Jai. Shri Keshav Ji Gaudiya Mat Ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Anantakota Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Samagata Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Om Agina Timirandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Guruve Gaurachandaraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarabhaktaya Namo Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Shtapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Shwapatantikam Priya Surupe, Daita Surupe, Prema Surupe, Sahaja Virupe, Nijana Rupe, Prabhueka Rupe, Tatana Rupe, Swavilasa Rupe, Anapita Chirin Chirat Kurunavartino Kalo, Samarpaitam Unnata Ujvala Rasam Swabhakti Shuryam, Hari Purata Sundaratu Tikatamba Satipita, Sada Hridare Kandare Swaratu Vasachinandanaha. Yam Pravajantamana Petyam Apeti Krityam Dvaipayano Viraha Katara Ajuhava Putre Titam Mayatayo Taravo Vinidustam Sarvabhutam Hridim Munimanatoshmi Bhaktiya Vihina Aparada Lakshay Shiptascha Karmadi Tarangamadye Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Prapana Brinde Namaste Charanarvindam Vajami Radam Aravinda Netram Smarami Radam Madhurashmitasyam Vadami Radam Karuna Bharadram Tato Mamanasti Katyena Kapu Tavaivasmi Najivami Tvaivina Iti Vignaya Radhe Tvam Nayamam Charnatikam. I'm first of all offering millions and millions of Dandavat pranams to the lotus feet of my beloved Gurudev. Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And I'm offering the same again millions of times unto our beloved Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada and all our Rupanuga Guru Varga and all the Vaishnava and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord, my Dandavat pranams to all of you. Vansha kalpa tarubhyascha, kripa sindhuvevcha, patitanam pavnibhyo Vaishnavina namaha. So today the Parikrama party, they went to Niduvan, and so many pastimes are there, very beautiful pastimes. Nidu, where all their Radha and Krishna's decorations have been washed off. This is at the end of after Ratri Leela, at Nishanta Leela time, and very beautiful pastimes take place there. When you go into Niduvan today, you go through sort of tunnels of vines and coming to the places of little temples filled with all paraphernalia for Radha's decoration and worship. So we get the atmosphere that Radha and Krishna have spent the night here in Niduvan. It's a very powerful place. And then close by is Radharaman Mandir, that Gopal Bhatta, he developed that temple and manifested the deity of Radharaman. And then just a little bit further down the road is Gokulananda, which is a very beautiful temple. Tomorrow is the disappearance day of Narottam Das, but generally we go to this Gokulananda temple on the disappearance day of Narottam Das, so they're going one day early, because in this temple of Gokulananda there's the beautiful Samadhi of Narottam Das. It's like a family when we come to the courtyard there. There's Lokanath Goswami, then there's Ganga Chakravarti, then there's Narottam Das, and then there's Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, all sitting in a circle together. So we celebrate there. And then the Gopinath temple, which is just around the corner also. So those places that's where the Parikrama party went today. Also today is the disappearance day of Bhakti Vichar Yayavara Maharaj, who was a celebrated devotee, disciple of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. He took initiation from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati in 1929, and he was much loved by all the Vaishnavas. He would speak so beautifully, so sweetly. His Harikatha was greatly appreciated everywhere, and he would always attend the different festivals and encourage the devotees. And his glories are very sweet and special. So we posted a file about him if people want to read about him more. So Bhakti Vichar Yayavara Maharaj Ki Jai. So now we'll come to our and principally this whole Astakam is opening out the power of prem, the power of devotion, the power of bhakti. This is what this whole Damodarastakam is about. And it's interesting to appreciate that there are three stages, we can say, or considerations in our devotion. There's Bhagavat Prapti Abhilas. This means I want to serve, my service to Krishna. Bhagavat Prapti Abhilas. And then there's Anukul Prapti Abhilas. I want to serve Krishna favorably. So that's like an upgrade from just serving to serving favorably. And then Sohad Abhilas. I want to serve Krishna in a friendly way. So again, it's evolving. So as our devotion itself evolves from one day, 1 minute to the next practically, similarly this Astakam is also evolving through all the different rasas and ultimately culminating with service to Sri Radhika. So this is the current of this Astakam, this Damodarastakam. So yesterday we were hearing about Krishna rubbing his eyes. This verse, Rudantam Muhur Netra Yugram Rijantam, Karamboja Yugmena Satanka Netram, Muhu Swasakampa, Tri Rehanka Kanta, Stita Graiva Damodaram Bhakti Badam. And this, I'll read the translation. Seeing the stick in his mother's hand and fearful of being beaten, He is weeping incessantly and rubbing his eyes again and again with his two lotus-like hands. His eyes are extremely restless and filled with fear. He takes heavy breaths again and again that cause the pearls and other ornaments around his neck, which are marked with 3 graceful curving lines, to tremble. O Damodar, you have been bound by your mother's Vatsalya Bhakti. I offer my obeisances unto that Damodar. So this is so remarkable that we're hearing this pastime of how it's the only time, Radharani binds Krishna with her garland and her affection and so on, and the gopis, of course, they control Krishna with their smaratarati, but it's the only time really when Krishna is directly bound to a grinding mortar, and it's described that he doesn't want to be bound. Therefore, this Vibhuti Shakti is there. This Vibhuti Shakti is Krishna's opulence, so that rises within him. He doesn't want to be bound. So this Satya Sankalpa, anything that Krishna desires is going to manifest by his potencies. So his potencies, his Aishwarya potency, won't allow himself to be bound. And then finally, when Krishna sees the exertion of his mother, then his mood of Karuna Shakti, this compassionate mood, comes in his heart, and then he allows himself to be bound by Mother Yashoda. So this is what we're going to hear about. So now we're on page 42, and there's a description here. The Ramanuja Sampradaya is divided in 2, according to whether they emphasize the Vedic scriptures or the Tamil scriptures. The former are known as Vadakalai, and the latter as Tainkalai. Is it correct? Tainkalai. They have distinct opinions regarding the means of ultimate attainment. The view of Vadakalai Ramanujas is based on grace arising from a cause. Their stance is compared to Markata Nyaya, the analogy of a baby monkey clinging to his mother for protection. This is one type. When the mother monkey moves about with her baby, she makes no effort to hold him. Instead, the baby clings onto her as she leaps from tree to tree. If he falls, his mother will never accept him again. So this is all the effort of the bhakta. Conversely, the view of Tainakalai Ramanujas is based on causeless grace. Their stance is compared to Majjariya Nyaya, the analogy of the cat carrying the kitten in her mouth. The mother cat picks up her kitten with her teeth and carries him about. The kitten does not make any effort and goes wherever she takes him. So there's these 2 distinct conceptions. One is that we have to make full effort to come to Krishna, and the other is that we have to be full Sharanagati and just sit back in the lap of the Lord, and he will take care of everything. So which one is correct? I'll read on. Thus, the followers of the Vedic Kalai school strive for the grace of Bhagavan by their own efforts, and conversely, the followers of the Tainakalai school rely solely on faith in the causeless grace of Bhagavan, considering their own endeavors ineffective. The Gaudiya Vaishnava school asserts that both views are necessary. Both. The following analogy is given to illustrate this stance. A person who has fallen into a well will cry, "Please help me, pull me out." Then from above, someone may lower a rope into the well and say, "I am lowering down a rope. Catch hold of it and I will pull you out." However, if the person in the well does not catch hold of the rope, he will not be freed. From his end, he must hold onto the rope, and from above, he must be pulled out. So both considerations should be there. We should be dependent on the Lord fully for his grace, and similarly, we have to make our effort to go towards the Lord. This example is beautiful. a rope down a well. The person in the well, he has to make an effort to hold on to the rope. If he doesn't make the effort to hold on to the rope, he's not going to be pulled out. So if he just thinks, oh yes, Krishna will save me, Krishna will save me. There's that example of a man from a village, and they were building a dam close by, and the residents came and said, oh, you have to go from here because they're building a dam and you'll be flooded out. And he said, no, I'll just depend on Krishna. So the dam was built and all the water backed up and he was flooded. And then he was sitting on the roof of his house. And then a helicopter came to pick him up. And he said, no, I'm just depending on Krishna. And then eventually he left his body. And then he came to Krishna and he said, you didn't save me. And he said, well, I sent the people to warn you. I sent the helicopter to pick you up, etc. You didn't make the effort. How can he be saved without making an effort? Do you understand what I've said? How can we move forward without making some type of effort? We make an effort, but we depend on Krishna for the result. There's the expression that man proposes and God disposes. We make the effort, and it's up to Krishna to actually fulfill that desire. We don't have any control over the desire of our actions, or the result of our actions, rather. So these are the two analogies that are given. In this example, the person in the well cries out for help and later firmly catches hold of the rope. These endeavors are the means of his deliverance. In other words, they are his sadhan. From above, the person who is trying to pull him out is bestowing causeless mercy. For someone helplessly fallen in the well of material existence, Sri Bhagavan's causeless mercy descends just like this rope, and by performing sadhan, one takes hold of that rope and achieves service to his lotus feet. So very simple, but very clear that it must be both, because we know the two ends of the rope are chesta and kripa, effort and mercy, which we have to appreciate this. Mother Yashoda did not give up in her attempt to bind Krishna. She kept trying. All the gopis began to clap their hands and say, "Oh mother, the Creator has not written on this boy's forehead that he will be bound, so how can you tie him up?" Mother Yashoda felt ashamed. This is so embarrassing, she thought. I have not been able to bind the child that came from my own womb. There's the description by Jiva Goswami of that jata sanskar, that cutting of the umbilical cord in Gopal Champu, demonstrating that Krishna directly comes from the womb of Mother Yashoda. In the dungeon of Kamsa, Krishna manifested outside of Devaki. He manifested as a 16-year-old youth with a beautiful crown and jewels and ornaments and so on. That he manifested in Mathura, but he actually takes birth directly from the womb of Mother Yashoda. But it's described that in that festival of cutting the umbilical cord, the nurse was amazed that actually Krishna doesn't have an umbilical cord. In its place was a lotus flower. In the center of his abdomen was a beautiful lotus. So it had already been actually cut and developed into a beautiful lotus. So they were all astonished at this auspicious sign in Krishna's navel. Taking shelter of Bhagavan, Sri Narayan, she silently began to pray. "O Narayan, please help me. If I cannot bind this boy today, it will be so shameful for me. Protect my honor." Her face had become reddish like the rising sun, and drops of perspiration had begun to roll down her face like pearls. Srimad Bhagavatam 10:9-18 describes this as follows.
Somatus svinnagatraya visrastastaka barasrajaha trustva parishramam krishnaha krupaya sit swabandhane.
Sri Krishna saw that his mother's body had become drenched with perspiration. The garlands woven into her braid had fallen out, and she had become utterly exhausted. Seeing his mother's fatigue, little Krishna compassionately allowed himself to be bound. So this is what I said in the beginning. Krishna's Shaktis were manifesting, his Vibhuti Shakti, his Satya Sankalpa Shakti, and was not allowing him to be bound because he didn't want to be bound. But when this Karuna Shakti manifested, then that all melted away. Sadhaks should perform sadhan bhajan with the same unwavering determination and hard endeavor. Then Sri Krishna's heart will melt, and he will be compelled to bestow his sublime devotional service upon them. This service is something that is internally present, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem, Sadhya Kabunai, but it can't be accessed by direct sadhan. Shravanadi, Shuddha Chitta, Korye Odai. It rises by hearing the pastimes of Krishna, like we're hearing now. It arises by chanting, kirtan, and remembering the pastimes of Krishna. That's how the current of devotion will manifest in the heart. It's already there in the heart. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem, it's already in the heart. We say the other verse, Kriti Sadhya Bhavet Sadhya Bhav Sasaranabhida, Nitya Siddhyasya Prakatam. It's already in the heart, but it will rise from hearing, from the Shuddha Bhakta, from the Mahabhagavat, from the pure Guru. Just like the analogy of fire. Fire is in all wood. All wood has the element of fire, but that wood can never be ignited until another piece of fire touches it. Another piece of wood touches that fire. So similarly, that Shuddha Bhakti, that pure Bhakti, it can't arise in the heart until it's inspired by the Mahabhagavat. Guru is the principle in all of our journeys, in all of our sadhana. Without his mercy, then we have no hope of attaining that supreme. Actually, when we think about all the personalities in our Guru Varga, like every day we talk from Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, Jiva Goswami, Gopal, all the way, Krishna's Kaviraj, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Vishwanath Chakravarti. These are like stepping stones. Their instructions are like stepping stones. If we take the instructions of these personalities, we can stay above the material whirlpool of attraction to the illusory energy. Every single person in our line is like that. If we take shelter of those individual persons, that's why it's very fortunate to glorify the appearance and disappearance days also of all these illustrious personalities that come. And we use these stepping stones, we use the instructions as stepping stones to attain that other reality, that spiritual reality, that reality of devotion. It's inspired by them to actually come to that state of, it's like we cross over a stage of consciousness when we have no more doubts about the spiritual reality, when our attraction and attachment to this material world slackens sufficiently, and we see it for its reality, its temporary nature, then we are much more eligible to cross into that spiritual world. So the doubts have to be cleansed. The doubts are in the heart, the hridrogam. These doubts, because of so many sinful desires, separate from that of serving the Lord. Sadhaks should perform sadhan bhajan with the same unwavering determination and hard endeavor. Then Sri Krishna's heart will melt, and he will be compelled to bestow his sublime devotional service upon them. Indeed, when Krishna saw his mother's firm resolve, his heart melted, and his topmost potency, his mercy, the totality of all his powers combined, then manifested as his bhakta vatsalyata, his affection for his devotees. At that moment, his Aishwarya Shakti, the potency of supreme majesty, disappeared and allowed himself to be bound. And he allowed himself to be bound. That Aishwarya Shakti is called Vibhuti Shakti. It's Krishna's powerful, opulent Shakti. Mother Yashoda made an intense endeavor with unflinching resolve. Following her example, sadhaks should try to melt Sri Krishna's heart, and by practicing devotional service that is imbued with characteristics like sincere, loving emotions, bhav, great enthusiasm and anxiousness, utkanta, deep sense of closeness and relationship, sambandha, a feeling of possessiveness, mamata, and intense affection for him, priti, they should compel him to engage them in loving service to him. The onus is with us. It's like we just described the kitten philosophy and the monkey philosophy. So it's both. We have to make the effort like the monkey, and we also have to depend on Krishna's mercy. But we have to perform sincere sadhana, because we've been describing the last couple of days how we have to generate more attraction to Krishna like Mother Yashoda had. She's the one who caught him. He didn't want to be caught. He was running for his life practically away from the stick in fear. But she ran faster than him. So this was the lesson, that we have to run quickly to Krishna, enthusiastically. And all these expressions of these sincere, loving emotions, bhav, utkanta, sambandha, mamata, and priti, must be rising in the heart of the sadhak. Very clear direction for our sadhan bhajan, very explicit. Regarding the previously mentioned verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, beginning with Svamatu, an important point must be considered. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains in his commentary on this verse, Krishna's waist measures only 12 fingers, and the length of the rope continually increased. Why then could his mother still not bind him? Krishna was thinking, my important daily activities of stealing butter and playing with my friends will be stopped. These are very important considerations for Krishna. We might find it amusing, but for baby Krishna, this was his principal focus for the day, to steal butter. He had a plan to steal so much more butter, and he wanted to play with his friends. This was his life as a child. This was his consideration. My important daily activities of stealing butter and playing with my friends will be stopped, so my mother should not tie me up. Immediately his Aishwarya Shakti, which makes the impossible possible, manifested herself within him and proceeded to serve him. Consequently, although the size of his waist remained the same, and although the rope was made so long, his mother could not bind him. This is incredible. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and can manifest his Achintya Shakti, but at the same time, he is really and truly in the consciousness of being a little baby. He's both at the same time. This should make us more enthusiastic to love this person who can have both considerations running simultaneously. Achintya Shakti, remarkable, totally beyond any kind of material comprehension. The Brajagopis who were witnessing this pastime, along with Mother Yashoda, could not understand its mystery. Why was the rope 2 fingers too short? Sri Krishna could not be bound by ordinary rope, because all arrangements for his pastimes are made exclusively by his own intrinsic potency, Yogamaya. Furthermore, there is no outside or inside of Sri Krishna, nor is there any beginning or end to him. The rope is actually glorified in the last verse. In the last verse, the rope specifically itself is glorified. He exists eternally in his Swarup, both before the creation of the phenomenal universes and after their total destruction. In the interim, he pervades all the universes, residing within each of their atoms. Yet all the while, he remains Akila Rasamrita Murti, the original form of condensed transcendent nectar in its totality. In fact, Raso Vaisa, he is nectar. Thus, Sri Krishna, being forever beyond the purview of mundane sense perception, is thoroughly inconceivable. Yet Mother Yashoda simply regards him as her son. So this is a beautiful example of that Chatushloki of the Bhagavatam, Yata Mahanti Bhutani, where it's describing the great elements are within this universe, and yet the great elements have their own individual identity also, both simultaneously. All the elements are in this world, and yet those elements have their own individual unique natures. They remain in there. So Krishna is like that. Krishna is manifesting in all the worlds, but at the same time he has his own individual nature simultaneously. This is how we can understand it a little bit. Srimad Bhagavatam opens that understanding in that verse. Thinking of him in that way, she behaves with him in such a natural and seemingly ordinary way with her relationship with him, that her relationship with him may even appear to be like a relationship from this world. But because of that simple, loving relationship, she was actually able to bind Krishna. Shri Krishna can never be bound by someone who has not abandoned all separate interests for separate enjoyment, selfish enjoyment, which are in opposition with the tendency to please him. He will only become bound by someone who cultivates Uttam Bhakti. Internets. Which are in opposition with the tendency to please him. So we've just discussed that we need to generate the conception of wanting to please Krishna more than our expectations of him pleasing us. We should have no expectations of him pleasing us. The gopis had no expectations. The gopis, their love was simply to satisfy Krishna's calm, satisfy Krishna's desires. That was their only desire in their hearts at all. Therefore they were qualified. That's Samartarati. They could control Krishna. He will only become bound by someone who cultivates Uttam Bhakti, which is the inherent function of one's perfected constitutional identity, and which is uninhibited by fruitive acts, mystic yoga, and dry knowledge. Therefore, Sri Bhagavan's power of compassion and mercy, the topmost among all his potencies, only becomes manifest by the performance of such Uttam Bhakti. In its presence, his Aishwarya Shakti, the power by which he displays his supreme majesty, becomes powerless. When Sri Krishna manifests his mercy potency, he is controlled of his own accord. In their previous lives, Devaki and Vasudeva performed extremely severe penances, but even they could not bind Sri Krishna. So there's a footnote here. Although Sri Krishna awarded them their desired benediction of becoming their son, he performed all of his sweet childhood pastimes in Braj, away from their vision. When he returned to them in his later pastimes, his identity as the Supreme Lord was revealed. He only returns to them as the Supreme Lord. He never comes in that sweet Madhurya mood. This Madhurya mood is so rare. This is the whole what we're discussing. It's so sweet. These Damodarastakam, these commentaries, are really revealing the true nature of Madhurya Bhav. What is the nature of that speciality? Totally selfless. Because to control Krishna, then there can be no separate motive on the part of Mother Yashoda. Didn't have any other motive except to bind her son. This was her only motivation, to train him to not be so restless. As a mother, she was performing this pastime. But then, what then can be said of others who try to bind him? He may willingly come under the control of a sadhak when he sees them eagerly perform loving service to him with great persistence. But he cannot be attracted by austerities alone. He is only attracted by sincere love. So I said at the beginning today about these 3 stages of devotion. This Bhagavat, Prapti, Abhilas, this is described in chapter 22 of the Jayavadama. Bhagavat, Prapti, Abhilas, and then that is just straight service. But that's not sufficient. What is favorable service? Anukul Abhilas. And then even more than that, Sohard Abhilas. What is that? Service in friendship. So there's 3 stages. Often when we're doing programs, I ask all the people, who wants service to Krishna? Oh yes, everyone puts their hand up. Who wants favorable service to Krishna? Oh, now I'm thinking more. Okay, yes, I want that. Now who wants friendly, favorable service? And then again, it's another leap of appreciation. All these considerations have to be there on the path of the sadhak, so he can temper his vision to this very selective point of pure devotion, Shuddha Bhakti. Before the advent of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Bhakti was evident within the world, but not Bhakti Ras. Bhakti Ras was not evident. This was begun by who? Madhavendra Puripad. Madhavendra Puripad, he is the Prem Ankur. He is the seed of Bhav Bhakti that he gifted to Ishwara Puri, who is the spiritual master of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So that's the line. But it began with Madhavendra Puri. Prior to that, there was no Bhav Bhakti demonstrated. Sri Rupa Goswami fulfilled the inner desire of Sriman Mahaprabhu within the sacred texts he compiled, especially Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu and Sri Ujjvala Nilamani. He perfectly delineated the meaning of Bhakti Ras. It's described in the Jayavadama that Bhakti Ras is the function of Krishna Bhakti when it becomes absolutely pure. When our Krishna Bhakti becomes absolutely pure, then it transforms into Bhakti Ras. It's the purest part of our practice of devotion. And this is what Mahaprabhu has come to give, come to bestow. Rag Mag Bhakti Loke Korite Prajan. He's come to give this Bhakti Ras to the world. Within this, he perfectly describing all of its divisions and subdivisions in full detail. Sriman Mahaprabhu has propagated Bhakti Ras through his most confidential associates, Sri Swarup Damodar, Sri Ramananda Rai, Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Sanatan Goswami, Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, my own Srila Gurudev, Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj, and others. So I described just a few minutes ago how our Guru Varga are like stepping stones. We take shelter of each one of them through their instructions, and they will carry us across into the pure apricot conception of the spiritual reality. They will take us out of this world only when we really want to go. when I've had enough of my attachments in this world. But if I'm holding on to something, it's not going to manifest. It's like the wedding party. They were in a boat and they were rowing all night, but they were drunk and they had the anchor out. They didn't get anywhere. They woke up in the morning and they were in the same place as they were before. They hadn't gone anywhere. Unless that anchor, what is that anchor? That's our material our material beliefs, our material conditioning. I have more faith in the material world and its organization and management and governments, etc., than I do in the Supreme Lord's arrangements. Everything is happening by the Supreme Lord's arrangements. Everything that is going on. He's arranging everything. But man, in his illusioned state, thinks that he's so important that he is arranging everything, but he's not doing anything. So when my detachment from this world becomes profound sufficiently, then I get closer to the spiritual reality, the pure reality of the spiritual world. Do I really want to go to the spiritual world? Or am I more concerned with my material situation, my material prosperity, my material relationship, reputation, my material, that essay from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati I sent you the other day. All of those things, they hang on to us. They're subtle and gross. Bhakti Ras. Oh yes. So all these personalities my Gurudev is mentioning. Mother Yashoda wound the rope around Krishna's belly, tied him to the grinding mortar, and then went to churn the yogurt, her mind remaining on her son all the while. Just then, Dham, Sridham, Sudam, Madhumangal, and Krishna's other sakhas arrived. Mother Rohini also returned to Nanda Bhavan from the house of Upananda, along with her son Baladev Prabhu, who then entered the group of sakhas. When he saw that his little brother had been tied up and that he was crying, he became furious. Tears mixed with black cosmetic ointment were streaming from Krishna's eyes. On one side, where the ointment was totally washed away, it looked like the clear river Ganga. And on the other side, where the tears were dark from the mixing with the ointment, it looked like the blackish Jamuna. Thus the two rivers were cascading onto his chest. Enraged, Baladev Prabhu asked Kanaya and the sakhas, who bound him? Baladev Prabhu thought, whoever has bound my Kanaya, I will punish this very day. Then Madhumangal whispered into Baladev's ear, it was Mother Yashoda who bound Krishna. As soon as he heard Mother Yashoda's name, he became silent. Everyone is afraid of Mother Yashoda. She is the controlling by her immense maternal affection. She controls by her immense affection. She only has in her heart the very best for both of her children. Baladev is like her son also. After a few moments, he tried to open the knot. However, he was unable to untie Mother Yashoda's strong knot. This is because the love of devotees in Vatsalya Ras, parental love, is superior to the love of devotees in Sakhya Ras, friendship. At this point, Baladev Prabhu is in his Sakhya mood. And that was not as potent as the Vatsalya mood. Incidentally, had Baladev Prabhu been situated in the form as Ananga Manjari, wherein he is devoted to Krishna in the highest ras, Madhurya Ras, conjugal love, he could have untied the knot. But although all the sakhas kept working together to untie Krishna, they were not successful. So cheeky boys. Mother Yashoda's bound him. She's punished him. And Krishna is thinking that he doesn't deserve to punish. He's just broken a whole pot of fresh yogurt. He spilled it all over the floor. I mean, it seems to be okay that Mother Yashoda punished him. But Krishna, as a child, as an independent child, that there's no other consideration. It's what does he want? And he had other agendas. He wanted more milk from his mother. So he didn't see anything else. But we, from a material point of view, or from a social point of view will think that yes, Krishna was a very naughty boy. He deserved to be bound. But the Sakas didn't think that at all for a minute. Sri Krishna gradually stopped crying. Even he was unable to set himself free. Yes, he couldn't open the knot from Mother Yashoda. Come on, the Sakas told him. We will tip over the grinding mortar and drag it out into the courtyard and play. At that moment, he remembered the incident that occurred long ago between the two sons of Kuvera and his dear devotee. This is Narad. And he thought,
Devarshir priyatamo yadimau dhanadaatmajo tattadha sadhayishyami edgitam tanmahatmana.
Srimad Bhagavatam 10:10-25. Devarshi Narad is my most dear devotee. Therefore, even though these two brothers, the sons of the most wealthy demigod Kuvera, had no devotion for me, still I must fulfill Sri Narad's words by appearing directly before them and granting them devotional service to me. So this is an example of Kripa Siddhi, where they're going to get devotion bestowed upon them. They have no justification for their devotion, except they had been trees in the village of Braj for 100 celestial years, but they had no devotion directly. Kuvera was the dear friend of Devarshi Narad, and his two sons were Nala Kuvera and Mani Griva. One day, while they were bathing in the Mandakini celestial Ganga with heavenly damsels, their intoxication from being wealthy, beautiful, figured, youthful, and of noble birth became further inflamed by drinking wine. At that time, Devarshi Narad passed by. When the ladies saw that he had come, they hurried out of the water, dressed themselves, and offered him obeisances. But Nalakuvera and Manigriva, blinded by arrogance, did not offer obeisances. In fact, they stood there naked and mused, where has this person come from? Ignoring the great sage, they shamelessly proceeded to call for the heavenly damsels to return. When Sri Narad beheld the degraded behavior of Nalakuvera and Manigriva, he was overwhelmed with compassion for them. Outwardly, he feigned anger and shouted a curse. Your behavior befits that of trees. So be it. Become trees. Upon hearing the curse uttered by Devarshi Narad, they were filled with fear. Falling at his feet and weeping, they begged for pardon. How can we be delivered, they asked. All of a sudden, their bodies actually started to become trees. Their toes and their hands and everything became like trees. They knew the reality of this curse. They were terrified. They came to their senses straight away. Upon hearing the curse uttered by Devarshi Narad, they were filled with fear. Falling at his feet and weeping, they begged for pardon. How can we be delivered, they asked. Sri Narad replied, both of you will become twin Arjun trees near the house of Nanda Maharaj in Gokul. At the end of Dwarpa Yuga, Swayam Bhagavan Sri Krishna will deliver you in the course of enacting his childhood pastimes. When Sri Krishna remembered his devotee's curse, he was overwhelmed with compassion for the two sons of Kuvera. Just to deliver them, he dragged the heavy grinding mortar towards the extremely large Arjun trees. And there's a footnote here. It's saying the ancient Arjun trees grow extremely large. According to Sri Narad's curse, Nalakuvera and Manigriva remained in the form of Arjun trees for 100 celestial years, or about 15 million earth years. 15 million earth years. He dragged the heavy grinding large arms with all of his friends. The trees were fused at their base, like a single base, but two trees. But somehow Sri Krishna passed between them. The grinding mortar, however, became lodged between the trees. As soon as Sri Krishna tugged at the grinding mortar with some force, the two trees were completely uprooted. At once they began falling over and finally struck the ground, producing a deafening crash. Then from within the ancient trees, two divine personalities emerged. They circumambulated Sri Krishna and submitted prayers in glorification of him. After they begged to be forgiven for their offense, Sri Krishna explained, "It is the unfailing result of seeing Sri Narad that even such rogues as the two of you are able to see me face to face, and the sum total of all the sins you have committed in your countless births has fled far away from you. May you attain Bhava Bhakti for me. By Krishna's causeless mercy, from that point onward, they became the famous reciters, Madhukanta and Snigdhakanta. Thus, as Sri Krishna's special associates, they eternally narrate his unlimited pastimes in the assemblies of Sri Nanda Baba and the Gopis." So this is all described in Gopal Champu by Srila Jiva Goswami. Madhukanta and Snigdhakanta, they're speaking all Krishna's pastimes to all the Brajbasis. It's very, very beautiful, this Gopal Champu. That which cannot be obtained even after accumulating pious credit Sukriti for millions of lifetimes can be achieved very quickly by the causeless mercy of Sri Guru, Vaishnavas and Sri Hari. This is a very important point. Millions of lifetimes can be just cut by the mercy of Guru, Vaishnavas and Hari himself. The devotees who are expert in relishing the loving moods of the Braja Gopis are the treasure house of Lobhamoy Bhakti, devotion to Sri Krishna, that is full of intense longing. It's this greed. Unless we have this sacred greed, this Lobhamoyi, then we cannot move towards Krishna in bhakti. If our greed is distracted by our various material attractions, it won't be direct, it'll be compromised. Just a little bit running each day and the rest of the time attending to our material attachments. This is what has to be purified. This is the path of our sadhan bhajan, is to reduce all of those material attachments and just come to this point of focused greed. Krishna bhakti rasa bhavitamati kriyato tarabilabhite tatra lolyam api mulyam ekalam janma koti shukritya na labhyate. This was the verse that when Ramananda Rai was hearing, when Mahaprabhu was hearing from Rai Ramananda, that he said, yes, this is bhakti. Now, tell me more about this. This greed, this sacred greed. My Gurudev talks about this all the time. It's the principal generating energy of our bhakti, is that greed, that enthusiasm, utkanta. Lobhamoy Bhakti, devotion to Sri Krishna that is full of intense longing. Among them, some exemplify one's own desired mood and are affectionate towards oneself. Sajatya Snigdha. If one gets their association, then he should realize that they are the most dear friends of his soul. With his life and soul, he should serve them and endeavor to purchase their mood. How can such moods be attained? When a person hankers for the same relationship, sambandha, that these great Rasik devotees have with their Swamini, Sri Radha, and with her companions, and when he hankers to have the same deep possessiveness, mamata, for her, and the same intense inclination to serve her, seva vasana, then he can attain these moods. Only then can one truly serve such Rasik personalities, and then is one's life successful. There is no other way. That's an incredible... All of these instructions and directions and descriptions are really powerful. And it's all generating from this Damodarastakam, originally Satyabrat Muni. But the hearts of the Srila Bhakti Parikrama Keshav Maharaj, Sanatana Goswami, and Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj are bringing these out to life. So these are very significant instructions. Okay, we'll stop there today and proceed tomorrow. But this is really packed with inspirational guidance for our bhajan in this month of Kartik. That's why we hear it in Kartik, because it's the most condensed, intense focus. Mother Yashoda had to be so intense and focused to capture Krishna. How did she do that? Through her love, her mamata. We can do the same through our submission to Gurudev's direction and guidance. Like I said at the very beginning, all of our Guru Varga, they're all offering the same opportunity. If we take them very, very seriously, every single one of them, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Rupa Goswami, Krishnadas Kaviraj, all of them, listen to all of their instructions and guidance with whole open heart and soul, and take them, drink them deeply into our lives to practice. And then we'll come close to qualifying for this bhakti ras that is being described. So Srila Gurudev ki jai, Damodarastakam ki jai, Anantakota Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj ki jai, Gaur Premanande. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol. Shri Shri Radha Damodar ki jai, Guru Vastakam ki jai, Shri Damodarastakam ki jai, Anantakota Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Gaur Premanande, Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhu Bevacha, Patitanam Bhavanibhyo Vaishnavena Namo Namaha.